Specialist fire investigators are at a Waikato Piggery, where a fire this morning has killed at least 40 pigs. About 700 pigs were thought to be inside the Taupiri building that was well ablaze when the fire service turned up just after 8 o'clock. Our reporter Andrew McRae tried to get as close as he could to the farm and told me it wasn't the first time the fire service has visited.
They have been to this particular farm 4 times in the last 10 years, and the last fire here was last August, and around about 400 pigs died in that fire. Luckily this fire is only a much smaller fire and a much smaller building, and as we said, only about around about 40 to 45 pigs died in this blaze today. But we don't know what caused it, and fire investigators are here at the moment.
So Andrew, can we confirm that there has been a fire at this farm before?
Yes, we can. According to the fire chief, 4 in the last 10 years, and I do know of the one last August where the 400 pigs died. So certainly there seems to be a bit of a problem with this particular farm. I spoke to the fire chief and he said he didn't know if there was any susceptible reason why there should be fires in piggeries, but they're investigating that as we speak.
Okay, can we talk about the condition the pigs were in? Do you know if there are sprinklers inside these units?
That I don't know, John. I suspect not, because of what is left of this building. It's basically just a smouldering ruin. So I would have thought, had there been sprinklers in the piggery, they would have been able to save more of the building. The fire service got here pretty quickly, but they weren't able to fight the fire straight away, because just overhead, over the buildings, quite high voltage power lines, and they weren't going in to fight the fire, putting their crews in until the power line company could come and turn off or switch off the power. That took a few minutes, of course, and then once that happened, they could move in straight away. But it was just too risky, because water and smoke and live power lines just don't mix.
Andrew, were the pigs trapped inside? There was no way to release them so that they could escape the flames?
That is my understanding, John. The fire chief was not 100% sure of what happened when the fire broke out, but my understanding is that these pigs were, I guess, trapped inside the piggery. The farmers here, who are devastated, as you'd expect, did their best to try to get them out. Luckily, the fire didn't spread to other buildings housing more pigs. So, worst case scenario, but things could have been a lot worse, I guess. But they did try, from what the fire chief said, they did try to save those 40 odd pigs, but to no avail.
Andrew, are the owners talking, the people who are running the piggery, are they talking about what they think happened?
They're pretty upset, as you would imagine, John. We did approach them earlier on. They didn't want anything to do with the media and basically asked us to leave the property. That's why we can't get any much closer than about 200 or 300 metres from this farm. And between where I am and the farm itself, in the background, the main North Railway line runs through, so you really can't get any closer. But they are very upset and didn't want to talk to the media.
That's our reporter Andrew McRae. The owners, Ray and Joanne Bryan, told the Waikato Times after last year's fire that they plan to install a sprinkler system when they rebuilt the farrowing shed. We wanted to ask them whether they have in fact done that, but as Andrew said, they refused to talk to media today. We went to the Ministry for Primary Industries to ask them whether they knew if any sprinklers had been installed and whether the ministry had investigated the farm after the last fire. They too declined our invitation to come on the program. In a written statement, District Compliance Manager Brendan Mickelson says animal welfare inspectors are at the farm trying to minimise the suffering of the animals. After that, he says there will be an investigation and inspectors will be looking for evidence of animal welfare offences. John Darrick from the animal welfare group Farm Watch did agree to come on Checkpoint. He's visited this piggery undercover twice, most recently just before the current owners took over.
So I've been inside this place twice. Once in 2010 as part of an investigation into pig farming in the Waikato. And then in 2014 I went back to this farm as part of a nationwide investigation into pig farming.
Okay, what was it like inside this piggery?
So both times I went, the place was really dilapidated and appeared quite run down. Inside the farrowing area, where both of the fires in the past year have occurred, On the first occasion, it was absolutely full of flies, and there were flies all over the animals. And in 2014, when I went back, I saw rats running across open wiring.
Since then, it's changed hands, right? There are new owners. Do you believe, other than the last fire, which obviously led to a complete rebuild of one of the piggeries, that the conditions you describe have changed?
I'm actually unaware whether they have done any rebuilding. From the photos, what I've seen is there were 2 farrowing sheds, both of which I've been inside. And one of the farrowing sheds burnt down last year, and then the adjacent farrowing shed just burnt down today. So the farrowing sheds were quite run down and appeared quite old when I was in them, and I'd be very surprised if they had made any major modifications or any significant investment into the facilities.
John, as far as you are aware, are there sprinkler systems or any kind of water distribution system for fighting fires inside these facilities?
There definitely wasn't when I went to this farm in 2014. I've been to at least a dozen pig farms across the country, and I've never seen sprinkler systems, and I have looked, and I haven't even seen a fire extinguisher at a pig farm. And these fires are a relatively common occurrence on pig farms because in the farrowing area, where both the past fires have broken out, you have these heat lamps which are used to keep the baby pigs warm. And so you've got these really hot lamps, and they're in these kind of plywood boxes. At this farm, plywood boxes that the lamps were in appeared to be homemade, or they were quite shoddy looking in my opinion. And so it's quite common for these heat lamps to spark fires or for rats to chew on the wiring in these farms and for fires to occur. And this is kind of manifested in the fact that this farm has had 4 fires in the past 10 years. That's what the fire department is saying. And a few of those fires, at least one occurred before I had been there, and they hadn't put any kind of sprinkler system in after that. So I'd be very surprised if they had put anything in since.
Okay, John, we do need to stress that the farm has changed hands recently.
Yes.
Do you understand if the practice of using heat lamps has continued?
That's standard across all factory farms. I've seen it in every factory farm because the piglets are in these little crates with their mums. They use the heat lamps to keep the pigs warm, and so I'd be very surprised if they had changed to any other kind of system since then.
Do you have any idea what might have caused the farm today? Do you have intelligence from within the farm, or have you obviously been excluded since your last uninvited visit there?
No, I don't have any specific information. I know that in the case of other fires, the heat lamps have been a cause, or electrical wiring has been a cause in other fires, but I'm not sure about this particular one.